What is going on, everybody? We are live for another episode of Believe in Kentucky. We got Aaron Gershon north of the border, the QB1 Jalen Whitlow. What's going on, y'all? How's everybody doing?
Good,
Doing
man.
good, man. Crossover season in July. We got plenty going on, both basketball and football wise. Obviously, basketball is kind of taking center stage right now, but that'll shift in less than a week. So a lot of fun stuff going on for the middle of summer here.
So this is typically the slowest week in sports. Tonight may be the slowest night in
That's right.
sports of all year. Except for us, we got a little something to talk about today, thanks to Global Jam.
That's exactly right. Yeah, no baseball at all. Obviously, with the All Star break these next two nights, but Kentucky basketball found a way to get games on the schedule, so that's good for everybody. I think everyone just enjoyed having that back in their lives. Are gonna enjoy it for the next couple days here in the middle of the summer, and then like I said, it shifts right to plenty of football talk next week, and then spring. Spring. See how far behind I am. Fall camp is only 2 3 weeks away here, man. So I just got the notification that UK Football Media Day is going to be on August 2nd. So we're rocking and rolling.
Wow, that is say the 12th, 3 weeks away, man.
It's 3
3 weeks.
weeks away. Yeah, I
Woo.
mean it is. We're flying, man. I mean there are days in June with this job where it's like, man, I'm a little bored right now. I'm itching to get at the bit, and then it catches up to you quick that you should worship the free time while also being excited, obviously, and ready for when it all starts. But yeah, that quiet period goes pretty quick.
So let me, before we move on too, since there is nothing going on, like you mentioned, no baseball. Let me just say that I'm glad the National League finally ended that streak. I'm glad
Right.
glad the National League got to win the All Star game. You are live. We are all live as we're getting used to doing that. First of all, appreciate everybody that's watching and subscribes and tunes in, getting YouTube subscribers and all that. You are in Toronto covering the game. Had you been up there before to Toronto?
No, actually, my only other time I left the country was as a kid to go to the Caribbean. So I actually had to get a new passport and everything. So this is a new experience for me. It's been a lot of fun so far. Like I said, it's been a little hectic. Had some travel nightmare issues yesterday that were, out of anyone's control except the airline. But it's just is what it is. But no, today's been a good day. It was great. It was a great atmosphere in the gym. I think it'll even be a little bit better tomorrow night. Facing off with Team Canada, the home team hosting this event. So today was a great day, and I'm going to do more of the touristy stuff. I think tomorrow because there's a night game, 8 o'clock tip tomorrow night. I think for TV folks, it's going to be tape delay if I remember that correctly, and then radio you'll have it live. So that's the way to tune in tomorrow. And then if you go to the Global Jam website, the live stats are there too. So if you're dying and can't wait for that tape delay, which I think is not till midnight Eastern, there are ways to at least know what's going on, hear what's going on. And obviously, I'll be posting updates on Twitter as I can. So that'll be tomorrow. But yeah, this is a first one for me being up here in Toronto and north of the border here.
I hosted with Tony Delp. He was of course from right outside Memphis, played in the league for over a decade, so been to all the cities. Hated the cold weather, first of all. So he
Don't blame him.
This is the right time of year to be here, man. I
exactly.
would be miserable if it was January. I mean, we're an hour from Buffalo, and we see the shots from Buffalo during football season. And yeah, I like Kentucky in that aspect.
He played for the Celtics. He got traded to Boston, and I think he's just got a hotel to finish out the season. Didn't want trying to get a house or whatever. But he said the minute the season ended, he was already had his stuff loaded, was on the plane back to Phoenix because that's where.
That's definitely a temperature change right there. That is definitely a temperature change.
And I asked him, I pulled up his stats, looked at the years he played all 82 games, and a couple years he was in Phoenix. He said, because look, man, that weather, he said, my body felt good. The weather was right in Phoenix. He was a warm weather guy, but he did say, Toronto was kind of low key one of his favorite cities if you go in the summertime. So you're there at that
Yeah.
right time, so you're gonna get to go out and see the sights in the city and all that cool stuff. So man, I'm a little jealous that you get to be up there and checking out Toronto, but at least you're up there in July.
Yeah, thank God it's July. I think I'd be a little struggling a little bit if it was the winter time. But yeah, my only thing, I'm a little bummed that it's All Star break and can't go catch a ball game because I'm going to be getting out of here on Friday. But other than that, I'll go do some of the fun stuff that they have to offer up here, get a lay in the land, and then get back home on Friday. So looking forward to all of it.
There you go. So Kentucky 81, Germany 73 in this first game of the Global Jam. And for a first game for a team that's only been practicing a handful of times together, finally got a full roster a little bit ago. And hey, look, and this was not Bahamas
No,
competition. They put on a pretty good showing today.
they sure did. Those were big. Those dudes were big. The Germany guys. I know that's not like a great analysis. That's very elementary of me, but those were big dudes. I mean, I know. I think there was 6 guys listed at 6'7" or taller. I don't know. 6'7" felt like undercutting some of the guys, especially the center that we saw Duthiero score over, and I believe it was him who had the shot attempt late in the second half that he swatted away. But that dude was listed at 7'1". I think that was underselling him. So really big team when Kentucky, obviously, you don't have Aaron Bradshaw for the foreseeable future. I don't even think he made the trip up here. I didn't see him at least. And then unfortunately, Uganda Onyenso got hurt yesterday during a friendly that was closed, so no one saw it, and I guess some fans snuck in, and that was the picture that was floating around on Twitter or whatever. But there was an injury. Calipari obviously confirmed that, and it sounds like he'll be down for this trip. So unfortunate for him. Hopefully he'll be all right, as we get closer to the season. But Kentucky playing with Jordan Burks, a 6'9" freshman, Trey Mitchell, a 6'9" forward, obviously plenty of experience, and that was kind of the gist of their height, And Justin Edwards obviously is a taller guy, but he's a guard, and Cal even talked about how he tried to plug him in at the 4 today, and he just didn't know what he was doing at that position because he had never played it. So they were playing really, really small ball, and if you look at the shot chart and all that, it kind of reflects that in a good way. I thought the shot selection was really good. The execution of it, the 3-point line's a little deeper with the FIBA rules. The ball's a little different. So, the shots didn't always fall, but a lot of them did. I mean, Trey Mitchell was 4 for 6 from 3. And I think the 2 guys that stood out to me the most, I mean, Reeves, that's the Antonio Reeves we kind of got spoiled seeing toward the end of last year. So, I'm not going to dig too much into him. But Trey Mitchell, man, that was they got something at that 4 spot, if that's a sign of what's to come here. I mean, 20 points, stepping back and hitting 4 or 6 from 3. He talked about how he was a really good passer, and that was kind of an underrated part of his game when he met with the media last Friday, I believe was his day. And he showed that off. There was a bounce pass he made that looked like it was coming from a guard, a bounce pass where he was up a little above the free throw line, and he bounced it in to DJ Wagner for just a beautiful dunk. And it was a perfectly executed play and just an amazing pass for a big man. And I thought he did some pretty good things defensively. And then the other one, which everyone's raving about for good reason, is if you took a Duthiero face off of him, he looks like a different dude. I would not recognize the Duthiero. The muscles he put on, I mean, I don't know if he grew in height, but standing next to him this year compared to last year feels different. The confidence he was playing with, being able to finish plays, which I think last year was that one thing that was kind of escaping him. I remember against Arkansas in that last regular season game, he kept getting the ball in the paint, whether it was driving in or whether it was a pass in the paint, whatever, rebound, and he just didn't have the strength to put that play in and finish the play, either get blocked or he would take a hard foul and then maybe wouldn't convert at the free throw line, or he would travel or whatever. This year he's finishing those plays with strength, or at least he did today, and that's what we've kind of heard about going into this. And I thought he was tremendous. I mean, 7 rebounds. He had a couple of contested shots over dudes who were taller than him that I asked him straight up, do you think you would have been able to do that last year? And he didn't say yes or no, but he just talked about how he trusts his body so much more and he has so much more confidence in himself. And John Calipari raved about the confidence thing today too after the game. So he stole the show for me. He was the guy that I was super impressed with, and obviously DJ Wagner. He just doesn't look like a freshman out there the way he moves and the way he plays. So there's a lot to like, and I'm sure we can even go a little deeper than that. But those were the kind of the things off the top that jumped out to me. And overall, hard not to be impressed with what you saw. But yes, the competition's much better than what they played last year. But at the end of the day, it's just a summer game, and it's the start of a long journey that after these next 3 games won't pick up again for another 4 months or so.
Yeah, I had a chance to check out the highlights, man. Didn't check out the game. And the first thing I thought about was right off the bat, just watching it, you could see the confidence coming out of the screen on those guys. I mean, it was just, they're creating their own shots off the dribble, obviously shooting the ball better, shooting contested shots better. And I know it's just one game, but they played better than I would expect a team that just got together to play in one game. So I was impressed, man, to be honest with you. I enjoy watching the highlights, and I'm kind of excited for the season now because I think they got some guys on that team that can, like I said, create and they can create plays, they create shots. They got good handles. They got a good ball handling team this year. They got good athleticism, good speed. You got a chance to see Reed Shepherd make a few good dimes. He can see the floor, even at the steal and the behind the back pass to the guy on the dunk. I mean, they just look like they're a little bit more oiled than they probably should be at this point, which is a good sign. So there may be some a good mesh of guys, a good chemistry of guys. So we'll see how it goes. I like the confidence though. The confidence is really kind of sticking out to me.
And I agree with all that. And of course, I think a couple of weeks ago, Jalen, you and I, when you were on vacation, Aaron, when Trey Mitchell announced his commitment, and we knew the guy was versatile, kind of inside outside guy. 35, 36% three-point shooter, I think, last year. And my thing was, I'm like, I wonder if Cal's going to give him that green light to shoot some threes. I'm curious to see how many threes he will get a game. And we saw him knocking down the 3-ball today. Now, they are going to look different when you get the 7-footers back. Yeah. But don't squash this versatility that this guy's capable of doing that. Still let him step out there and shoot that 3 because he's capable. He's comfortable. It wasn't a struggle. It wasn't fluky. He wasn't banking stuff in. He was calmly stroking 3s in rhythm, good shots. He's a veteran, the whole 9. So I like what I saw. It is one game. This doesn't mean, rush to, hey, Final Four. But it's good to see what we saw. You know what I'm saying? But kind of keep it all in perspective as we can.
And they're FIBA threes, like they're long. They're a little bit longer, and the ball's a little different. And like you said, they were not cheapies. They weren't bank shots. Like they were money, and a couple of them were deep. So even deep for the FIBA line. So I thought I was blown away by him. Actually, I thought he was everything is advertised, maybe even a little more. I was already very impressed with him getting to talk to him last Friday when he met with the media. He talked again after the game, same thing. So, this is a guy who's been there, done that. We're talking about his 4th school. So he's not fazed by the whole transition. He has ties to Calipari, not directly, but with his stepdad, having known him for forever. Before Trey was even born, he was explaining to us last Friday. So he's a guy who's going to be comfortable. And, I think the key is, and you're right, that's the big question. When Ugana and Onyenso and even Aaron Bradshaw are back in the mix, is the shot chart going to look as pretty? I know Sean Smith, shout out to him, posted the shot chart a couple times and how clean it looks. It's all either layups, 3s, and a couple of mid-ranges that Kentucky, for the most part, made. So, meaning that they're just shots that there was complete confidence in. And maybe that's the personnel, but maybe on an optimistic side, it's John Welsh, man. The coach that Calipari hired to fix his offense. That is essentially what he did. it's the closest thing we're ever going to get to an offensive coordinator under Cal that fans have been screaming and crying for, and rightfully so, the last couple of years. So maybe that's an effect where the approach is going to be a little different. Maybe that is a sign of things to come. And that, I think, would be extremely exciting to see the offense kind of catch up with the times a little bit. And, again, if Trey Mitchell is going to be that type of threat, to shoot outside, I was talking about it with someone today up here in Toronto. I can't remember the last time Kentucky had a 4 doing that. I mean, that would be just massive, I think, for this team. And it's definitely something to get excited about, even though it is, the first game of a summer tour trip.
So if that is the case, shout out to Cal for making these hires and then letting them do what they do. Let them come in and work.
Right.
Let them come in and change your offense. Don't come in and then not let him do anything and just kind of, limit his ability to come in and do his job. This guy's highly regarded pretty much by everybody he's worked with. So come in and that should take pressure off of you. If you trust him to, hey, I'm just going to let you do this, and you run the offense, you coordinate it, you get this player development, player relations, interactions going, is good. They did all this too, and as Tom Lee said on the broadcast, they got their kicks jacked, man. They got their shoes.
I know what was up with that. Yeah, man, that was something else.
That would have pissed me off, man.
You ever get shoes stolen or have to change quickly like that, Jalen? I mean,
the whole bag. Oh,
hey, who did what? I don't know, man. That one was when I read that, I had to read that tweet a couple times to make sure I was not. It wasn't like a burner account or something fake. That was just it felt like a story out of a bad TV show or something. That was man, that was crazy.
And just to have the foresight to have a backup bag, to have a go-to, just in case, a spare bag of kicks for everybody. So
yeah, are they known for stealing shoes up here?
I don't.
Watch out, man.
I know. Yeah, I got one pair of sneakers. If they take mine, I got nothing. I got one pair of shoes with me. I'm not a big shoe guy. I'm gonna be in socks, and they're gonna look at me like I'm crazy here.
Man, and going back to Thiero too, before we go wherever else y'all want to go after this.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude is just continually growing ever since he got on campus. They keep talking about growing height, and like you mentioned, the weight that he's added, but he's continuing to grow, still maturing, still getting to know his body. The play that stood out to me, it was just a pass out front. And he started to creep into the passing lane, and the player for Germany, as he's making the pass, kind of sees him like, oh, God. And it was a lose-lose for him.
Yeah.
If he makes an accurate pass to his teammate, it's a steal and a dunk. So he ends up just throwing an errant pass that his teammate can't catch, and the ball just sails out of bounds. So either way, a dude forced that turnover. I'm sure, Jalen, man, you see a corner creeping, and you can't hold it. The ball's about to be thrown.
Yeah.
And that's the way he was when he made that pass. He saw him like, if I pass this where I plan on, it's a steal. And so he was like, oh, it's like he kind of had a little twitch. And so he threw it out of bounds. You got to know, Jalen, what he's went through.
Those are the bloopers that I'm glad the world don't get to see, especially in practice, man. It happens to everybody. But, a lot of times throwing a football, when you try to do that, sometimes you just almost spike the ball. It is extremely weird. Your coach is like, what the hell is going on? But yeah, it happens. But kind of going back to what you were saying, man, the athleticism and the length of these guys, they got a chance to be pretty good on defense, man.
Yes.
If they buy into, the chip on your shoulder thing, playing defense, playing hard-nosed defense, and with the shooting ability, I don't want to jinx it, but they got a chance to do some stuff this year, if that's the case.
Yeah, I was really impressed for, a first time out there in July. I know that, it's these European teams are notorious for shooting a bunch of threes, and when you shoot a bunch, some are going to go in, and that did happen today. But I thought Kentucky just flat out using their size did a pretty damn good job at closing out on shots and being there, at least having it contested. There weren't that many wide open looks, and I thought they did a good job, working around some of the screens. That was obviously a major weakness for this team last season. And it wasn't just one guy, even though Oscar kind of got the brunt of it. There was a lot of guys who struggled with working around screens, both guards and bigs. So those two things were really encouraging for first time out there. And I think we always hear Cal say it, how they always work on defense later. It's not something they do early. So for them to look pretty good defensively, I mean, that's very encouraging.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Canada, and I think Aaron, before we started, you said that maybe there's a chance Jamal Murray shows up tomorrow.
Yeah, he was talking about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's mom being at the game today, and that he's a possibility. I thought he might have mentioned Jamal Murray too. I believe that's the case. I think that's what I heard. I'm going to be honest with you now that I'm backtracking a little bit. I'm trying to remember if I heard that correctly. But yeah, man, I think tomorrow night's going to be a really cool atmosphere regardless of who's in the building, just because, this is obviously Team Canada's event. They're hosting it. They're the home team per se. And this is their country, and their fans are going to want to go see their country bend and play. And then you have the Kentucky factor, and there are obviously it's not Rupp Arena North up here, but there are a lot of Kentucky fans who made the trip up, whether they're just blue blood fans, whether they have ties to the program, like we saw with some of the folks who went to the Bahamas or whatever it is. There is a good Kentucky contingency here. I mean, they were booing the officials. Anytime there was cheering, it was about Kentucky. It wasn't about Germany today. So I was pretty impressed with how, and I mean, I should have been surprised, but this fan base, man, they just show up, and they did it today, and I'm sure they'll do it tomorrow, but have some this time they'll have some opposition giving it back to them a little bit. It should be a pretty fun environment. And like I was saying before we started, this arena that it's at, it's a very, I don't know what the capacity is. It can't be more than a couple thousand, 2 or 3. It's a small gym. It's a really intimate setting. It's a college. I believe it's a college gym, and it's a hockey arena, of course. We are in Canada, so it's a pretty cool little atmosphere they got there. And I think if it's a packed house tomorrow with Canada and Kentucky, that should make for a pretty fun evening.
And Jamal Murray, I'm not a huge SB guy, but Jamal Murray just wins the SB for Comeback Player of the Year, so pretty deserving to come back from that knee injury he had, and then be a big reason his team is the champs out there in Denver. So congrats to him for that, for winning that award. So yeah, man, I'll check your tweets. Part of me wants to just be a night owl and watch it when they do the tape delay at midnight. But I'll probably
that's a tough time.
See your tweets and stuff. First time we've seen the men play 4 10-minute quarters instead of 2 20-minute halves. They're the only in college basketball.
That's right.
For the men are the only ones that still resisting going to quarters. So that was cool seeing 4 10-minute quarters and in addition to the international rules with the goaltending when it's on the rim and all that kind of stuff you see when it's a FIBA game.
Yeah, I've always kind of been an advocate for bringing that to the men's game because I think it's more efficient. Which I think is good for everybody. It keeps more fans engaged. It gets these student athletes, in and out of there a little quicker because obviously, they've got a ton going on. It's a win-win for everybody. I think fans in attendance too, especially during those, Tuesday night 9:00 starts. I just think it's a good thing for everybody. But I'll say this: I don't know if it was just the way they were doing TV timeouts or the style of this game was, the runs that both teams went on that caused some timeouts to be burned. It was a long game, and I don't know. It was a long game. It was definitely over 2 hours from opening tip to the time things wrapped up. So again, I'm not sure if that was this game only. We'll see what it's like tomorrow, but it definitely was interesting to get the perspective. I've obviously covered when Ryan Howard was here. Covered a couple women's games when they were going right, and I know they had to take, I think it was 2 TV timeouts per quarter, and those games flew, man. So I'm not saying it would be the same in the men's game, but I am curious, like, to get a trial run of it in the NCAA. I don't think it would ever happen, but I'd love to see how it works back home.
Ryan Howard just got selected to the WNBA All-Star game, had a big 40-point game the other day. So, year 2 is going well. I mean, she had a great year 1 as well, and she's followed up with another great year. So already an All-Star, so that was cool to see her make that.
She's her and Still. I mean, you could argue 1 and 2. Those are the 2 that are the best of ever. Valerie Still, and that is, of course, that come through this program, women's wise, for sure. So happy for Ryan. Happy to see her keep killing it. She was definitely a ton of fun when she was here. I went to a couple games just to see her do her thing in person. So really, really good athlete there.
Absolutely. Now, unless y'all got something else to, we got a couple little nuggets from last week that we hadn't got to. And look, it's summertime. It's talking season next week.
Yeah, it is.
So we just backtrack. But in the little message group, we messaged, I saw Kentucky's favored in 9 games. I was like, hey, 9-3, that's cool. If they, if it came to fruition, 9-3, right. It's probably going to be some means underdogs against Alabama, Georgia. And you would assume probably Tennessee, based on what happened down there last year, based on the history against Tennessee. Look, y'all listen, if you missed last week, go back. We ranked some of the top 10 wins based off of what Aaron's been writing for the Cat's Paws. And not many wins against Tennessee.
No.
So I'm like, okay, everybody's picking them to lose those 3 games. Then you look again and see that Louisville is favored in all 12 of their games. And so you don't have to be a genius to know that Louisville plays Kentucky. So that means they're picking Louisville as a favorite over Kentucky. So it's cool that Kentucky, in their mind, is favored over Tennessee. But how you got them as a dog to Louisville? I mean, that was I just thought that was eye-opening, so.
I think it goes – I think they probably should be underdogs against Tennessee and favored against Louisville. I mean, in both cases, what has the favorite in that game proven against the other? And it's not like – look, I get Louisville's under a new coaching staff. I think Jeff Brom will actually do a pretty good job there, especially because – and it's not even a knock on him. It's just how it is. The ACC is not very good, and it's a much easier conference to rebuild in than Hugh Freeze is going to have to in the SEC, that Billy Napier is entering year 2 of at Florida. It's just the nature of the ACC right now, and there have been years where the ACC has been very good. That's just not the case right now. And you look at their schedule, I mean, their toughest game outside of Kentucky might be Notre Dame or Miami. Like, it's a cupcake schedule. Let's just call it what it is. You want to call Kentucky's games against EKU, Akron, and whoever I'm missing in there, Ball State, easy? Yeah, they probably are. But these are 13 very manageable, or 12, I should say, very manageable games for Louisville. So I kind of get in theory why they're favored in all 12. I still think, having them favored at Pittsburgh, who's been a pretty solid program the last couple of years, is wrong. Even against Notre Dame, who had a strong finish to last year, even though that game is at home for Louisville. Maybe even Miami, who knows what we're going to get from Miami. You just never know on any given Saturday with that program. But I don't have too many gripes with, Indiana, Boston College, Duke, Virginia, whatever. But and then that Kentucky game. I mean, it'd be one thing if the last 4 meetings between these 2 teams have been close, but they haven't. I mean, last year was the closest it was, and it was still 13 points and felt like more than that. So it doesn't make much sense. I get the new coaching staff. I think they'll do a good job pretty quickly. I get that it's in Louisville, not that makes a huge difference. And same when it's at Kroger Field, it doesn't make that big of a difference. It's a 50-50 crowd, usually close to it. I think Louisville fans were a little checked out at the end of this year, and so were Kentucky fans. So by default, Kentucky fans had more in attendance just being at home, this past year, and it was also senior day. But it's not going to be an overwhelmingly pro Louisville or Kentucky crowd, no matter where the game is. So it doesn't make any sense to me. And everything I just said from a history standpoint, I don't think Kentucky should be favored over Tennessee either, even though that game will be in Lexington, and Tennessee fans and Kentucky fans make their way down to Knoxville great, and Tennessee fans invade Lexington very well when they play here too. So neither of those make any sense to me.
Yeah, they ain't winning 12 games.
No.
They're not winning 10 games. No, I
think 8 regular seasons the max.
Yeah, I like Brom, and I like what they do on offense. Just me being an offensive guy and everything, but coming from where they came from, it's not like you're taking over a team that's been winning 11 or 12 games. You're taking over a team that's been winning 6 or 7, and that type of thing. So, new scheme, new culture. Usually, you take a little bit of a dip before you start to climb. So, I don't think it'll be. I don't know who. Again, I don't know who made that up, who created that. But they're not winning 12 games. I mean, it's not happening. Notre Dame will be pretty good this year, in my opinion. I think Notre Dame will beat them. Obviously, I think Kentucky will beat them. Kentucky just got their number right now. So they'll beat them. But, like you said, you never know what you're going to get from Miami. Miami has a decent roster, but you just don't know what you're going to get from them, even though they have some talent. So, they won't win 12. I think they'll be better on offense this year. I think they'll throw the ball better for sure. But, I just don't see them being able to be physical enough, be big enough in the trenches to slow Kentucky down.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing that even last year I saw a lot of people pick Louisville going into the game, and I get it. I mean, there was the one glaring thing with last year's matchup was Louisville had a great pass rush last season, and Kentucky had a terrible offensive line. But when you look at the trenches, still, I mean, Kentucky's got an SEC roster, man, and Louisville has an ACC roster, and it's not a dominant. Like, it's not Clemson. It's just not there yet. And I'm not saying Clemson's as good as they were even 2 years ago, but they're nowhere near what Clemson is right now, in my opinion. They're probably not near Notre Dame, who I know is not in that conference, but is usually on their schedule. They're not there yet either. So it's going to take time, and maybe they will. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, I think Brom, that being his alma mater, his hometown, he's going to do a great job there, especially offensively. But that, and I know that there's the transfer portal, rebuilding's easier, whatever. But when you look at the full picture, it's going to take more than 1 year at Louisville. They're not 2016 Louisville, which Kentucky still beat, but they're not 2016 Louisville. They're just not there yet.
Now, Jalen, did you happen to see the hype video Louisville football put out in the park, tossing the ball around, skins versus skins, whatever that was the other day?
I did not see that. I'm glad I didn't.
I'm just like, if say it asked y'all to do that, would y'all been eager to?
Yeah. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that.
Even Brom was out there, man. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Gotta pay the bills somehow, I guess.
Oh my God.
You always wonder who make the decisions to do this type of stuff. Like, who, you always wonder that who had to sign off on, yes, let's do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just don't. Hey, but whatever floats your boat. But no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Not doing that. I think that's actually hilarious, though. The fact that they even did that. It's almost like goofy. So I'm sure teams on their schedule may post a picture or something in the locker room that's like bulletin board material.
Yeah.
Let's get these ducks out of here. But no.
Yeah, I didn't get that one, man. But whatever. It's that time. It's that time of year. Look, I didn't understand at all what South Carolina was doing last year, and then that video.
Yeah, that was lame too, man.
And then it worked the other way, right? Where Mark Stoops did make a comment. I know he says he didn't, but let's face it, he did. And he had his number. Like, Kentucky beat South Carolina last year. They were 7 in their last 8, and you know what? South Carolina flipped it on its head, and I'll give them credit for that one game. But hey, I don't see it working out that same way. But I don't know what. Like you said, the decision makers sometimes it just makes you scratch your head.
Yeah. Yep.
So when you head to Nashville next week, what are you going to be looking for storyline wise? I mean, of course, you're covering the Cats, and
Yeah.
you'll see Stoops and Eli and everybody that's going. But what are you going to be looking for? I guess from a SEC conference view as when you head down there.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be obviously the last one, I should say, with the 14 teams. We're going to add 2 next year with Texas and Oklahoma. So I'm a little interested to see kind of the talk about the scheduling changes and how some of the players who maybe are going to just be watching as fans, because obviously for media days, a lot of the players that come are seniors who are not going to be back next year, represent their like JJ, for example, obviously entering his last year of eligibility. I know Eli Cox has a COVID year he could use. This is probably going to be it for him. And then Ox, I think, has a COVID year as well. But, looking around the SEC at some of the guys who are going, there are a lot of guys who this is it for them. So, I think that's something I'm very interested in to see how they're kind of feeling about what it's going to look like next year. And this kind of being an end of an era in a sense, right? Where division play, I don't know exactly. I don't think there's going to be an SEC East and West next year. I think it's going to be one big SEC, like we see in the Big 12. So I'm very curious to kind of get a vibe check on that. Obviously, there's only one new coach. Last year there were a bunch of new coaches. This year it's just one, but it's Hugh Freeze. So that's going to be an interesting one. I think he's on Tuesday, so. That'll be pretty interesting to see what the vibe is with him. And same with Mississippi State. I mean, I know there's such an unfortunate situation why they have a new coach, of course. Yeah. I'm hoping there's going to be some Mike Leach tribute kind of stuff. I know it's been a little bit now, but it's the first time SEC Media Days, since his passing. And, hoping there's some cool stuff with him and getting to hear some of those stories. Those are always fun to hear. So those are some of the big things, and just kind of the same thing as last year. I'll try to gauge how some of the guys who have played Kentucky or are going to this year are feeling about that one. That'll be cool to get an Alabama perspective, because they haven't played Kentucky in a while, and they will this year. So that one's coming up on Wednesday morning, the same day Kentucky talks. So there's definitely some storylines, but I think this one is I think it's more of a big picture than I guess, to me, I'm a part of this group that with 247 that we're going to be filling out a ballot every week, ranking the 14 teams, and I had to come up with a preseason one, and I can give you guys my ballot in a minute if you guys want, but like it is hard this year. Like I feel like there's more parity. I still think Georgia's the top dog, and it has to be proven otherwise. But I can make a case for like 4 teams at 2, and I can't remember the last time I could say that. So I am just interested to see how everyone's kind of approaching this season.
What are you looking for, Jalen? Talking season and all that.
Yeah. Yes, same thing, man. I'm looking forward to see what the buzz around, the Malzahn situation, new head coach at Auburn. And I like media days. I like to just get a feel for what's going on. Get a feel for what they're trained not to give you too much, but you can still get a feel for what what teams have or what teams looking forward to, and what their expectations are realistically. And I also want to see, because you're going to get people who are going to ask questions about the whole Northwestern situation. I want to see what people say. I want to see what because you're going to get people who say, okay, what do you feel about the situation? And like I said, the players are going to be trained not to say anything. The coaches are going to try to get around it, but they're going to say some stuff. And I just want to see what happens with that. Because if I had to guess, that question will be asked a few times. How do you manage that? Because it goes on in most programs to a degree. Now, not to that degree. What Northwestern, that allegedly was doing, that I've never heard of anything like that. And I've been on some teams that did some crazy stuff, but never heard anything like that. So I don't know what they need some holy water up there or something, but that I don't know what they got going on. That's ridiculous. But yeah, I love media days. I like to see obviously what Kentucky say. and I immediately go straight to Nick Saban in Alabama and see what they're talking about. It's just what I do. Now I take my time to go see what Georgia's talking about. Well, take that back. Tennessee next, then Georgia, and everybody else. I like to see what Jimbo Fisher says because he, you kind of got to rewind it back like 5 times.
Man,
but he's good information. I like listening to offensive minded coaches. And if they bring their quarterbacks, automatically listen to the quarterbacks.
Yeah, actually, let me get the list of quarterbacks. I know there's a couple, but it's not, obviously Kentucky, and I respect what they're doing, decided not to bring Larry, and I think they try to get guys who either haven't done either you haven't done it or you've been part of the program for a while. So there's no Devin Larry coming. But there are some quarterbacks. I know last year, we had Seston Bennett, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson. I'll get it for you guys in a minute who the quarterbacks are, but that's a great point. That's something too. Mike Wright also, and he's a guy I talked to for a few minutes last year and was blown away by. I really, really like Mike Wright, and I hope he does well at Mississippi State and finds a role down there. But yeah, the quarterbacks are always. So here we go. Let's see. Jaden Daniels from LSU is on the list. Nothing else from day one. Nothing from Georgia. Auburn, no. Will Rogers from Mississippi State will be there. He wasn't there last year.
Been there 13 years.
KJ Jefferson will be there again. He was there last year from Arkansas. Yeah, Will Rogers. That's so true. And then Thursday, is that it? Spencer Rattler and Joe Milton too. So those are probably the two biggest names of the group there. So yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a good time. I love SEC Media Days. I love the networking aspect. But, hey, hopefully my ballot will be better this year than last year. My ballot stunk last year, my predictions. Outside of Georgia, I picked Alabama to win the SEC. That went wrong. I think I picked Auburn. I think I correctly had Auburn finishing. No, I had LSU finishing last in the SEC West. I found it. And they won the SEC West. Yeah. So, yeah, I had Kentucky finishing second. They finished tied for fifth. So, hopefully it'll be a little better this year.
Yeah. Be that time before we know it. We know it. Looking forward to getting your first impressions from day one this time next week, man. So,
do you want me to give you my top 14 real quick? And
let's hear that.
Oh yeah.
Let's hear that. I want to give you what I think about it.
Okay. You want me to go 1 to 14 or 14 to 1?
Whatever you want to do, man.
All right, we'll go 1 to 14. We'll go. So for now, this is Georgia, LSU, Alabama, Tennessee 4, Kentucky at 5, Arkansas at 6, South Carolina 7, Ole Miss 8, Mississippi State 9, Mizzou 10th, A&M 11th, Auburn 12, Florida 13, Vanderbilt 14.
Man, you got A&M at 11.
I have A&M at 11. I just think I can't see that amount of talent flopping again. I have them at 11, so it's not like I got them super high or low. But for me, Florida, I have no idea what to do with Florida, and that's why I have them at 13. They could be really good, or they could stink, and I think they might stink.
I got Florida I think Vanderbilt will beat Florida this year.
Wow, again.
Yeah, I think
this will be at the Swamp.
Florida. I think Vanderbilt will beat Florida at Florida this year. Florida has to be the worst program in the SEC right now.
Yeah, they're going through a rebuild, full rebuild.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they knocking down everything. They knocking down every wall they have, and they rebuilding the thing. But I'm more so, I got Georgia 1.
Yep.
I got Bama 2.
Yeah, I struggled with that one, man.
I got Bama 2. I got Tennessee 3. And LSU 4. LSU got to prove it to me. I got LSU 4.
Okay.
I got Kentucky 5.
Yep, that's where I had them.
6. I'm gonna. This is a tough one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with South Carolina at 6.
Yeah, I was stuck between them and Arkansas at 6. I did go Arkansas, but
I'm gonna go with South Carolina at 6. I'm gonna go with Texas A&M at 7.
Okay, so you're back on the train.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Texas A&M at 7. I'm gonna go with Arkansas at 8.
Okay.
Let's get tricky right here. Ole Miss at 9.
Yep.
Mississippi State at 10. At 11, I'm going to go with Missouri.
Yeah. Their defense is going to be legit this year.
Yeah, 12, I'm going to go with Auburn.
Okay.
Auburn got a ways to go. Now,
Yeah, that's where I had them.
Yeah, that can change because depending on how the quarterback play is.
Yeah, they're a wild. Again, they're like Florida. And I think even more so than Florida. They're a wild card of our new era. We just don't know.
Yeah. 13, I thought about putting Vanderbilt in Missouri spot, but I'm going to just go on a safe bet. I'm going to go 13 Vandy, and 14 is the Swamp.
Wow. Yeah. You heard it here first, folks.
14 in the Swamp with it, man. I just don't see. I
don't see it either.
I honestly think that I posted this. I was talking to my cousin on Twitter, who were kind of replying back and forth. I think that Vanderbilt can win 5 games this year.
I don't think it's crazy, and I would have to know if the math even allows it. But I wouldn't be surprised if the entire SEC is bowl eligible this year. That's how I think much parity. I think Georgia, until proven otherwise, is the king of college football. No, I'm not saying they're going to go 4-8 if Kirby Smart is listening to this. But there's so much damn parity, man. I mean, it is going to, I think more so than ever, with obviously the NIL stuff and the transfer portal being the catalyst of it. There is just so much parity in this conference there's just who knows what's going to happen, man. It's going to be it's fun. I love it. And I truly think there's a path to 6 wins for every single team in this conference.
Yeah, I agree. I think the parity I think is going to be better than it's ever been. In a while. I'm sure there were years with great parity, but I could see I could see Georgia having a loss. I could see Bama having a loss or 2. I could see Tennessee having 2 or 3 or 4. I could see that happening, man. It's just, it's going to be one of those years that I think it's going to be a year to remember. I think we're going to get to late November, and it's going to be like a toss up on the SEC championship game. It's going to be a struggle to find, who are those 2 teams that deserve to play in that game. So we'll see.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's fun, man. And it's right around the corner. That's what's great about it. And like I said, obviously we got media days next week, but Kentucky's own media day on campus, before practice is coming up on the 2nd of August. So we're flying, man. We're going to be back at Kroger Field before we know it here.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to cobble up my little list. I don't know, but both of y'all, which you got A&M 11th, and I know Jay.
I have them 11th.
You got them 11. Jay got them 7. So
3, yeah.
Back on the train, quote unquote, and they're still barely middle of the pack. So that's and for their expectations,
that's all you need to know.
That's not where anybody in College Station expects them to be. But I've stated already. The Petrino Jimbo, if they mesh, I'll be surprised. But I'm dying on the hill that's just going to be 2 headstrong offensive guys. Bobby being a head coach, he's wanting to be a head coach again. I just don't think they're gonna. I don't think it's gonna be like it's gonna be friction, and it's gonna be because Jimbo's a hothead. Jimbo is you got to rewind it like you said because that you can't. Y'all don't remember the Micro Machines commercials, but the dude was like an auctioneer doing the commercials, and that's how Jimbo sounds. He talks so fast, and I just don't know is he going to yield to Bobby? Are they going to be able to coexist? That's
Right.
What I wonder. And maybe they will. Maybe the chemistry will be great, and they'll score 45 points a game. But I'm just not seeing it happen.
Yeah,
I don't know. I find it hard just from stories that I know personally that it's going to be hard for Jimbo to relinquish some play calling power.
Yeah,
I just don't.
That's his
I
baby
just
right
don't
there.
see. Yeah, I don't. That's what he does, man. That's I just don't. I don't see that happening. Maybe they can mesh. But I would love to be in those meeting rooms. I know they go at it, man.
Yeah.
I hope it does because it would be great for the conference. It would be great for college football, man. Because I think I think everyone was really excited about Alabama and A&M last year. That game in particular, just that division race. Even all the other teams, and that Arkansas had a lot of high expectations. I know they got crushed by the injury bug a little bit. Ole Miss obviously got off to that 7-0 start, and everyone was kind of like, "Damn, if A&M was in this race, you're talking about a hell of a dogfight between multiple teams." So if you get A&M in there, and with what Alabama always is, with LSU, and I agree with you, Jalen. That's why putting them at 2 is a little hard for me, because I want to see it again, and I want to see it even more than we saw last year. Obviously, they win that division. They beat Bama head to head, but they got to go up to Tuscaloosa this year, and they just have a lot to prove. Brian Kelly's got a lot to prove still, I think. But man, if you get A&M at its best with LSU, with Alabama, with potentially a healthy Arkansas, and who knows with Ole Miss if they could rediscover it. They still got Judkins coming back. They have, Dart did a good job at times. They bring in Spencer Sanders too. I mean, shoot, that could be. And Mississippi State has an outstanding defense that really didn't lose that much. So, hey, that division could be the best in college football, and that's why I kind of hate that we might lose divisions. Like, I get that. I like that the SEC is going to go with the new schedule, because it's going to lead to a lot of new experiences. It's going to be, I think, kind of like how baseball is doing, the whole MLB baseball that is doing the whole, everyone plays everybody. It's going to create more parity, and it's going to create better scheduling and get a true sense of who the best team is. And the best team will deservedly win it. But I'm going to miss divisions from that aspect, because it is a dogfight, and every single game matters. Where in every single game still will matter. But when it comes to division ball, if you lose 1 or 2 in your division, you're not going to go to Atlanta in that case. Where now maybe that'll be a little different.
Yeah, for sure. Fellas, man, another good episode. I think we hit everything. Got the little summer football thoughts that we missed from last week. AG got the Global Jam on lock, bringing all the coverage from Toronto. Just looking forward to game 2 tomorrow. Live again on YouTube and Twitter, and subscribe and check that out. Courtesy of Believe Network, Believe Podcast. Steel Blue also puts all these episodes up on their site, so we appreciate that as well. And look, we'll be coming to you again. And look, AG will have SEC Media Days on lock. And this will be the second time. This will be last year.
That's right. I talked to you from Atlanta last year.
Yeah. So
yeah, definitely. That'll be right after Kentucky Day too. So there will be 3 days worth of nuggets from that coming up.
My last quick question too, for what, because we had emergency podcast. We did one last year when Kentucky lost to Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
because that was just so shocking. So, football or basketball, what will cause us to do an emergency podcast first? Will it be for a good reason, or will it be for a bad reason? And then we'll end this episode.
Damn, that's a good one. Well, I'll say this: football presents the. If things go wrong, football presents the opportunities the first 4 weeks of the year, because those 4 games you got to go 4-0, and that includes Vanderbilt. You got to go 4-0, and if they lose any of those games, the season's in serious trouble. But I don't think that'll happen. So I'll say. I think football is, but I don't know if I don't think they're going to beat Georgia this year, but I give them a chance against Tennessee and/or not Georgia and/or Alabama at home. So I'll go with football, because I don't know the full basketball schedule when things are happening yet.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think, emergency podcast, Kentucky beats Bama, 31-34.
Oh my gosh.
Something like that. I think that'll be I don't care what I'm doing, where I'm at. I'm hopping on that podcast.
Oh my God, I might be trying to survive the city of Lexington, because it might burn to the ground if that happens.
Oh no, definitely some couches to get burned.
So that's it. Emergency podcast, where hopefully all 3 of us, or 1 of us, or 2 of us, if our schedules permit, something. Hopefully, we're hoping this for a good reason. But
yes, last year was for a crappy reason.
Yeah, oh man, it was like, God, we really got to get on here and talk about what we just saw. I was in Green Bay. I listened to it on the radio in and out, and it was like, man, let me get back to this. Airbnb and hop on here and talk about this Vanderbilt L.
And wasn't that no? It was days before Kentucky basketball goes on and loses to Michigan State and Gonzaga back to back. So it was like, and then obviously Kentucky lost their next game. It was Georgia, so you understand it. But
Yeah,
it was like a week of Kentucky L's just stacked up on top of another one. So.
Yeah. So we'll be bringing y'all episodes each week like this, and then when the emergency podcast situation present themselves, hopefully good ones, we'll bring them to you. If they're crappy ones, we'll bring them to you as well. Appreciate y'all listening and checking us out. And we'll be right back here next week. SEC Media Days, talking season. Kentucky Media Day coming up. Season's right around the corner. Believe in Kentucky. We'll have you covered on all of it. Appreciate you. We'll see everybody next week.